Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Lee's World. It is I, Big Lee. I want to start this episode out by first thanking everybody that gave the first episode a like, a share, a review, just listening to it. I really appreciate the support on that. It's crazy to me how positive the feedback was on it and that people wanted more of Big Lee's World, which just still seems crazy to me, but it's still pretty awesome at the same time. So, like I said, I really appreciate the support, all the love y'all show me. It'll mean more to me than you'll ever know. So, just want to kind of talk about a little bit more about the future here. We've been trying to get a couple of guests on here. I can tell you the first two guests on here will be two of my brothers from Mother Mothers, I guess you could say. One of them will be Justin Lane, once we can kind of get a schedule locked down. And the person that was actually going to be on this episode, my other brother from another mother, Shannon Stinson. However, we were supposed to record this weekend, but with the adventure, which I'll get into here shortly, did not exactly make ideal for recording situations. So, we're going to have them on here soon, and we'll get them going on here and tell some great stories. So yeah, I'm just me looking forward to that. Kind of give you an update on what's going on here. Otherwise, we just got back from a back-to-back weekend of concerts, which is always a good time. Went Friday night to St. Louis to go see one of my favorite blackened hardcore death metal bands called Nels at the Firebird. Got to see some old friends I hadn't seen in a long time, which was really great. I always love catching up with friends I haven't got to see in a long time. And then Saturday, ended up going to Springfield, Missouri to go see Slaughter, the Prevail, Enterprise Earth, Traitors, and Body Snatcher. The original plan was to go to Crossville, Illinois for professional wrestling, a company called Strictly Insane Pro Wrestling, which, if you've never been, I'll give you a little bit of detail about it here. Strictly Insane Pro Wrestling out of Crossville, Illinois. Promoter there, Sam Cosby. He always puts on an entertaining show one way or the other. And he's always treats us really well when we go out there. It's about a solid 2 hours, 45 minutes from Cape to Crossville. We have a normal stop there at the Four Corners Buffet in a little town called Carmi. It's kind of became a traditional habit. However, we did not make it there this past weekend because the show got canceled due to electrical issues in the gym where it is held. So, hopefully in the fall when they start running full time again, back down in September, that we can make it there and get back to seeing some shows there. So, they're getting ready to take the summer off, and I kind of like the idea of having the summer off, so I really may have to implement that in certain things. But nonetheless, so our contingency plan was to go to Springfield for this show. I originally had plans to go to Memphis to go see this show on Sunday, which recording this would have been a couple days ago. But it ended up working out better just to go Saturday. The trip was a little bit longer, but it made it easier to get rest on Sunday before I had to be back at the shoot job on Monday. So, all in all, it was a good experience. It was a crazy time. It was a surreal time. One of the big things with this is I have a friend. His name is Krys. Krys passed away in a car wreck a couple of months back. And one of the last things that we had talked about was a few days before he had passed, that we were going to meet up in St. Louis to go see this band called Slaughter to Prevail. Neither one of us had seen them before. It was their first time playing in St. Louis, for those that don't know. Slaughter to Prevail is a Russian metal band. They're out of Russia, if you couldn't tell. But they don't play the States that often, and with us, we were both big concert guys, so it was both a band that we'd had interested to see, but we hadn't had the chance to really go and see them yet, so it was going to be the perfect opportunity. And that was a few days before Krys had passed, and then the show was a couple days after that, and it was one of those things where he passed. It was a hard one for me to take. We, like I said, we had the plans. I couldn't bring myself to go to the show afterwards, after all this happened, so I had a chance to go a couple months later in December to go see them, and I still wasn't ready yet. So, nonetheless, I just kind of skipped out on it, and I just kind of thought, and I was like, I told myself, well, if I get the chance to go see them, this was one of the last things we talked about, and I think, personally, I just need to do it. Not just for the fact that I'm a fan of the band, but me and Krys were good friends, and it was just really hard, and I felt like it almost was kind of a closure to actually go to the show and almost fulfill a commitment that I had made with him. Because I could feel that night at the show that he was with me. Just to tell you a little bit about Krys and the relation that we had. I remember, I want to say, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was at Pops. And for those that don't know, Pops is a concert venue in good old East St. Louis in the Sauget, Illinois area. For those of us that grew up loving metal, it was the, I guess you could say it was kind of the hot spot for metal back in the day. And from time to time, they still have metal shows there. I know there seems to be getting back to that, which makes me really happy. But before I get off track here with that, I was there. It was probably, like I said, about 2014, 2015. We went to go see a band called Upon a Burning Body and the Butcher Babies. Once again, I know that some of y'all listening to this are like, he went to go see what and who? And that's fine. Make sure you check out some of these bands that I talk about on here. Because if I'm willing to travel to go see them, you need to take some time to listen to them. But nonetheless, I went and went to the show. A couple buddies of mine. And towards the end of the night, this kid came up to me. Long dark hair. Pale white. For those that know me, it's in essence a pot calling the kettle black when I call somebody pale white. But nonetheless, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I've seen all your posts on social media, and I think it's really cool some of the people you've met and some of the shows you've been to. Let's be friends." And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Thinking to myself afterwards when I walked away that, man, people are really strange these days at these metal shows. Just randomly coming up, wanting to say they've seen you on social media, and now they want to be your friend. And I'm just kind of like, that's strange. Side note, it's not the first time that happened to me. It also happened to me down in Nashville with this lady named Kama, which whenever I try to get down there to Nashville again, I'd love to have her on the podcast, so hopefully she hears this and realizes that I plan to have her as a guest on here. But nonetheless, get back to the story here. So, me and Krys had exchanged a couple of messages back and forth on social media, now that we've become known with each other. And we start going to more and more shows, see each other, and we start hanging out. And it almost came like a big brother, little brother, in essence. The kind of relation that we had with one another. Then, of course, as we became closer and closer, then Krys met some more of my longtime friends, and they got to a point to where there was a group of about 4 or 5 of us that we were this little crew. We would go to shows together, and we had a lot of good times. I've shared the post on social media a few times. There's a picture of myself, Krys, my buddy Tim, and a buddy of mine named Justin that lives in St. Louis as well. And we went to a show. If I remember right, I remember the acacia strain fit for an autopsy was there. I'm pretty sure the artist murder was the headliner, but I could be wrong about that. But I just remember it being a great time, and it's just hard to explain, but we just had a really good time. We all meshed really well. There's a picture out there, which is what I was getting to with this, of all of us at the Peacock Diner after we were eating. And every time I see that picture, it makes me think back to how we ended up to that picture. Ended up after we left the food bar where the show was at. At the time, I drove a 2012 Chevy Sonic. For those that don't know, it's a very tiny car. You should not be hauling multiple people into something like this. But I did, so what? So, there's myself, my buddy Tim. Tim was a big dude. He still is. Not near as big as he was back then. Tim took his health very seriously, got into much better shape than he was back then, and I'm proud of him for that. I definitely need to start doing more things like he does. But nonetheless, so it's him, me, my buddy Justin, who's a tall guy, not a very heavy guy, and then Krys, who was about the same. And we all fit in my car, and we're trying to drive around, trying to find a place to go eat at because it's late and we're hungry. And we ended up leaving the area where Food Bar was and driving around and going down to Del Mar to where the Peacock Diner was. And we ate, and we took this infamous photo of the four of us. And it was just kind of synonymous of how our friendship was, you know. 4 people, all different backgrounds. Some could even say 4 different types of metal, which we'll get into. And, but we all united and we were friends. And from there, you know, we still continued to go to shows and stuff like that. But as with most things, as we all get older and more priorities come about, the real world, struggle, work, other endeavors, we all kind of had to cut down on the shows. You know, Tim got really big into his Death by Metal STL promotion for music and media and all that. And I'm proud of him for all of his support that he everything he's done, basically, with that. I'm proud of him for that. Krys had his own music media promotion thing called Slam Dance, which he did a lot of work with, and I was proud of his work that he did with that and the success he had. You know, my brother Justin, he got the real life job, the suit and tie kind of business that pulled him away, and he had to cut down on the shows because he's real world busy. And then, of course, I had the real world job as well, plus forming Cape Championship Wrestling and trying to grow it with a whole different set of friends. So with that, we all stayed in contact. We all tried to make shows that we could, but concerts just kind of became less and less of a priority as we all pretty well just had to focus on the business that we were involved in. So every now and again, like I said, we would see each other at shows. I think we had a little bit of a reunion. I want to say it was Warped Tour 2016. We had gotten to kind of talk and hang out a little bit there, all of us. Then, like I said, from show to show, just work and stuff like that kind of kept us apart, but we would try to get together. I saw Krys. It was good seeing him. It was a Rage Fest at Pops last July, I believe it was, with Suicide Silence, Attila, Spite, and a couple other bands. And it was good to see a face-to-face conversation with him. Like I said, you know, we stayed in contact via messaging and all forms of social media like that, but it was just with shows and everyone trying to get their type of metal that they wanted to go see, that they're willing to take time out of their schedule for. And like I said, you know, it was just that way. For those of you that haven't reached that point in your life, you will soon, where things will take priority over others, family, work, things of that nature. And like I said, it just happens that way. The Stone Sire show came in September. I had missed seeing Krys there. Probably he left. I think he ended up leaving about 10 minutes before I got there. He was hanging out back. He had to leave to go to work, and I was late getting there because I had to go eat. So that happened, and then we kind of started talking and making plans about this seeing Slaughter Prevail at the Delmar Hall. And just kind of exchanging life stories and stuff like that. Some of the stuff that he'd been going through, some of the stuff that I'd been going through, the successes that we've had, some downfalls we had, and just kind of how good life was, really, in the long run. And we'd made a few plans here and there, but the big one, like I said, was to go to the Slaughter the Prevail show. And I'd asked him about a show that was a couple days before that, Fit for an Autopsy. It was one of the bands that we all used to go see together, and they just happened to be coming to St. Louis a couple days beforehand. So they're just kind of like, hey, why don't you come out to this? He's kind of like, well, if I can get off time and work, stuff like that, I'll try to stop by there. It's like, okay, that's great. And also I was like, okay, that works. So that Friday came around, and needless to say, he couldn't get off work. He was busy. I'm like, that's fine. I'm still going to give him a hard time. And that was just kind of one of the things we all did with one another. No matter how far apart we got, we could always laugh and cut up with one another. We all was able to give the torment and take the torment. So, well, I made a plan. I was like, well, we're going to go to the show. Then the next day is to go to Crossville for wrestling. And also I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I've got Sunday off. Excuse me. I got Sunday off, so I'm going to reach out to him on Sunday and kind of give him a little bit of a hard time for not making it there, but tell him that, hey, I'm still planning to be there for Slaughter Prevail, and I look forward to kicking it with you. Well, we're at the wrestling show, and phone starts going off, a bunch of notifications, which is really weird because it's a Saturday night, and there's nothing else really going on besides the wrestling that I'm aware of, so I'm just kind of like, I wonder what's going on. And I click on the notifications and see it. And I was kind of dumbfounded at first. I was like, wait, what? Is this some kind of joke? Or some kind of rib that we're pulling on one another? And come to find out that Krys had died in a car wreck that Saturday afternoon. I was just kind of floored. I was like, this has to be a rib. This has to be a joke. This can't be real. This kid's too young. There's no way this could have actually happened. So I messaged some people up around the area, and they'd confirmed, one of my worst fears, that it was true. So I was just kind of shell-shocked that day. I felt really bad because on multiple levels besides all this, Shannon went with me to the show, to wrestling. It's kind of our thing to do, kind of get away from everything and just kind of laugh and have fun. And I know once that happened, it killed the mood for him. It definitely killed the spirit for me, and I felt bad for it. I should have held myself better when I got the news, but I don't know, it just caught off guard, and I wasn't ready for it, and it's still hard for me to process. Like I said, the dude was like a little brother to me. It was kind of like, as he got more successful with what he did, and he started mature to a level, and he kind of started taking some of the advice that we'd given him in years past about life, business, just anything. Like, you could see that he'd really started putting a lot of it into work, and it seemed like everything was going the way it needed to go. And like I said, I was proud of him. I really was. And then when this happened, it just kind of knocked the breath out of me and kind of made me just really sit back and think, like, wow. I know it's cliche to say that tomorrow is not promised to anybody, but man, it was really not. Because, man, it's crazy to think about. So, like I said, Krys was like a little brother to me. And anybody that knows, like, I'm one of these people that is kind of OCD. Like, I don't keep text messages and things like that. But that last conversation we had just a few days before he passed, it's still in my phone. I haven't brought myself to delete it. I can't. I haven't brought myself to delete it out of my phone yet. Like, his phone number is still there and everything. You know, it's really hard for the fact of, like, I still, like, on holidays and stuff like that, want to, like, just reach out, shoot him a text, just, wish him well, send him stupid memes and stuff like that. And then it's like, well, I can't do that anymore. So, like I said, it's just, he was like a little brother to me. I gotta keep saying that, but it just gets me kind of at a loss of words. But, man. So, needless to say, that going to see Slaughter to Prevail, kind of bring this back on track to where we're going, needed to happen. Like I said, I had plans to go see it that next day in Memphis, but when it came about that I could do it on a Saturday, and it was just, a couple hours further, but I would have time to recoup the next day, kind of get all emotions together, and go do that. So it's like, let's go ahead and go Springfield and do it. My buddy Shannon went with me, which I appreciate. Not just to go and just go to a show. Like, I explained to him the situation, and he was there for moral support, and I appreciate that. Just remember, if you can find a few good friends in life, make sure you keep them. Make sure you're good to them, and never forget what they do for you. Like I said, I know that Slaughter's not his thing. Once Shannon got there, Shannon's like, wait, what is this? But he was there, he was supportive, appreciative. I'm always appreciative of what he did for me, so like I said, I needed to do this. I needed to go see it just as a closure, just to keep the commitment that, I told Krys that I would be there. And it's just kind of like, I had to do it. So, anyways, I'm back on track here. So we go to take the first trip to Springfield to do this. I let Shannon map it out. He's like, let's take the scenic route. Let me tell you, we ended up going through the backwoods of Marble Hill, Piedmont, just to come out south of Van Buren. Totally was not worth it. Should have just took my advice and took 55 to 60. We ended up taking 60 to 55 back because, the scenic route is not the way to go, especially at night. Too many curves, too many deers, too many locals. But nonetheless, we make it to Springfield. Went to a place called The Riff. Great venue. First time there. As you could tell. Really impressed. Big fan of Body Snatchers. Big fan of Traders. They both killed it. Always good to see. Enterprise Earth. They brought the medal for sure. And then it came time for Slaughter. Now, at that point, I'd kind of made my way pretty close to the stage, about third row back. And I felt like I was fighting back the tears for sure. I knew the main reason I was there, and I knew what to expect. Like, I told Shannon beforehand, I was like, if I break down during the show, don't think anything's crazy. It's just something that happens. And he was supportive. But I got up there. The show started. I didn't break down. I just felt happy. I felt like Krys was there with me. I felt like I had some closure. And I think I made the decision that he would have wanted me to make. That night, I think I couldn't quit smiling from ear to ear. Like, I hadn't felt that happy, which is an odd thing to say, in a really long time. But that was the happy that I had missed. That was the happy I felt back at that night after Fubar at the Peacock restaurant when the four of us was there just hanging out. So it really took me back. Like I said, I couldn't quit smiling. I couldn't quit smiling on the extremely long drive back because we didn't get a hotel because Shannon had to go do his side job on Sunday mornings. But like I said, I hadn't been genuinely happy like that in a long time. And I felt like that kind of brought it through. So, like I said, I feel like he was there with me. I feel like it brought me some closure. And it was 100% well worth it. So, like I said, it's sometimes in life you have to search out that closure. Don't be afraid to find closure. If you're needing closure, do what it takes to get to closure. Because being miserable in life is not worth it. That was one of the things I could say about Krys. Anytime I talked to Krys, no matter how bad things were, he always tried to keep a positive outlook. Whether good or bad, he always was positive. It's just, if he ever thought that I wasn't, he was one of the first people to reach out to me to make sure that I was okay. Like I said, he was a great guy. He really was. And to me, it's still surreal that it happened. It's something that's been sitting with me for a long time. And like I said, I needed closure. I found it. I'm glad I did it. Like I said, Krys was a great friend. I love you, brother. I miss you. I know you're here with us. So, with that, the takeaway from this is pretty simple. Like I said, tomorrow's not promised to anybody. Take advantage of whatever chances you can get in life. Try to stay as positive as you can. You'll find a few good friends in life. Make sure to take care of them and put in that friendship what you want out of it. So, with that, man, that took a little bit more out of me than even I thought with just talking about it. So, I don't want to these episodes with this just me talking without a guest. I kind of don't want to keep these too long, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Like I said, coming up soon, plan to have Justin Lane on here to kind of talk about our college adventures, our road trip adventures, go over the things that we can and can't talk about. I feel like that episode will be coming pretty soon. It was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, but some things happened with scheduling and we couldn't make it through. So, and then of course, then I also plan to have Shannon Stinson on here as well and kind of talk about the same thing, our work life. We've both worked at a couple of the same places for a long period of time, so we'll have some stories we could tell about that. Also, some road trip adventures, some Q&As. Shannon's a part of some pretty diverse and interesting things, to say the least. So it'll be good to talk to him about that. And then if it's something you're interested in, we could definitely make it to where afterwards we could put a contact out for if you want to join or partake in some of his, I don't want to call them extracurricular, but some of his outside projects that he's involved in. So I appreciate everybody listening to this. Take a time out of your busy schedule to give this some support. Once again, thank you. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email, bigleesworld@gmail.com. You can hit up the socials at Big Lee or Big Lee's World on Facebook, at Big Lee756 on Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to shoot me a message, a comment, a post, whatever that social media does to interact. I'm pretty well an open book. Just reach out to me. And also, thanks again for checking this out on your favorite podcast platform. Please subscribe to the podcast. Give it a like, a share, a review. You know, they say give 5-star reviews. If you like the podcast, that's great. If you don't, I really don't care if you go put a bad review on there. But, you know, just thanks again for checking it out. I really appreciate it. As always, like I said, shoot me an email, bigleesworld.com. Well, you can go to the website. It's being built soon, but at bigleesworld@gmail.com. Like I said, at biglee756, Twitter, Instagram, Big Lee's World on Facebook. Thanks again for checking this out. We'll be back soon with Shannon Stinson, Justin Lane, a few other people. So once again, thank you for checking it out. Y'all have a great day.